Happy Friday, everyone. And it was a nice day in the market, a little bit of recovery after some sell-off yesterday. I'm hopping on today because I want to talk about my Quantum 8. These are a list of my favorite quantum stocks that are in the stock market. These range from smaller companies that are more purely focused on quantum computers to the largest companies in the world like Google and Microsoft. So ranks have changed quite a bit since I created this because the industry is always changing. And we're gonna go into my top 8 picks today. Before we get started, let's just take a super quick look at the heat map. So we see that Microsoft was up, Google, Nvidia, Apple, Amazon, and let's look at our quantum watch list as well. So we see that across the board, we had a lot of green. We covered ARQQ on the channel yesterday. They're continuing that upward rally. If you're interested in what ARQQ is doing as far as quantum cybersecurity, go check out the video from last night. Google had a nice day today. Honeywell, IBM, the QTUM Defiance Quantum ETF did well. Amazon did well. And then we saw that only Rigetti had some sell-off and kind of stayed red most of the day, but had recovery towards the end of the day. So that's what the market did today. Now it's time to go into the top 8. Let's get started. Okay, guys, I'm not going to reveal the number one because there's a new number one this week. But we're going to start with a new player on the list, LAES, SealsQ. So SealsQ is a WiseKey company, and they build semiconductors and quantum security solutions. I pulled up a couple news articles. They actually knocked Intel off the list this month. So one thing that I really appreciate about SealsQ is they are consistent about putting out information. They seem to do very well with public relations. So we can see that they have some recent headlines. So we're talking in the last 3 or 4 days. Thomson Quantum AI partners with SealsQ to equip 60,000 of their hardware devices with advanced post-quantum security technology. We covered this more in depth in the video last night. We covered ARQQ and LAES. Some of you might be wondering, well, why isn't ARQQ on here? Really what it came down to is SealsQ LAES is a little cheaper right now. And I really like all the moves they're making, and I'll show you what I mean by that. So if we just scroll down, let's see if we have the IC Alps. So SealsQ and IC Alps joined forces to advance post-quantum secure ASICs for automotive functional safety. So they're working on partnerships, and we read that article. Let's look at this one. SealsQ and WiseSat to showcase breakthrough post-quantum satellite technology at the Space Symposium in Colorado Springs. So we know that Will Rich was out there. I met with at this Space Symposium. I met and have some interviews with Will. I gave him a heads up that SealsQ was out there, and maybe he'll have some coverage on his channel. That's Will Rich YouTube. SealsQ is unaffected by new tariffs. So I even like this type of thing that they're coming out and giving. This is the closest thing to guidance, really, but essentially our company is going to continue. We're not worried about tariffs. So you like to see that. And that just kind of gave them the edge on the quantum cybersecurity play. All right. So again, if you want to see this quantum watch list, you can look at the historical ratings, but at number 7, we have Amazon, and Amazon has held this number 7 spot. Let's just take a look at their quantum computing chip. Their Ocelot chip uses scalable architecture for reducing error correction by up to 90% and accelerating the development of real-world quantum applications. So their announcement was roughly a month and a half ago. We haven't heard much since then. We haven't heard much about Google Willow. But we know that Microsoft, Amazon, and Google are working on their own version of quantum chips and solving this quantum problem. So at number 6, we have Microsoft. So Microsoft actually moved down 5 spots. I had Microsoft at number 1 for a couple of reasons. First, Microsoft was one of the first players very shortly after NVIDIA and Jensen Huang had said, hey, quantum is 15 or 20 years away. Well, a couple of days later, Microsoft puts out their blog article, 2025 is the year to become quantum ready. And they showed the world, this is how you on-ramp customers. We saw D-Wave and IonQ follow suit very shortly after with their own on-ramps on their websites. And not only has Microsoft been very smart with calling 2025 the year to become quantum ready in their blog post, but they also released their Majorana 1 chip, which carves a new path for quantum computing. So this isn't without controversy, though, because we've seen that Microsoft has come under fire for claiming it has a new quantum computer. Researchers have criticized Microsoft's new Majorana 1 quantum computer, saying that the company has made claims about the way it works that aren't fully backed up by scientific evidence. So you just go look, you can draw some conclusions yourself, but with Microsoft's positioning in the space, they're creating their own chip. They're also showing the world, it's time to become quantum ready. They still hold the number 6 spot on the Quantum 8. All right, number 5, IBM. Let's take a look at IBM. So one way to look at IBM is kind of the way they've laid out their technology atlas. So if we go to their site, we have security, AI, automation, and quantum, which I think is very nice. And they have it laid out in this sort of web here. And then if we click on quantum, we get their roadmap. So in 2024, they wanted to have quantum circuits allowing up to 5,000 gates. By 2026, they want 7,500 gates. By 2027, 10,000 gates. So as you can see, they have an aggressive roadmap for development. I looked for recent news and headlines, and I found that IBM and BASC announced a plan to install Europe's first IBM Quantum System 2 at the IBM Euskadi Quantum Computational Center in Spain. So pretty cool. This happened about a month ago. This was March 13th, so a little less than a month ago. But IBM is out there. They're building quantum computers. They're making moves. All right, guys. Hope you're hanging in there. We're halfway there. All right, so number 4, you guessed it, Rigetti Spaghetti. Rigetti Spaghetti has a full stack quantum modular approach, and they've moved up 2 on the list. Why did they move up? Because they were named in the DARPA announcement, and they are a pure play. So the IBM is going to be okay if quantum doesn't work out for them. But these pure play quantum companies are much more affected by news like the recent DARPA news, where they were named in their stage 1. So let's take a look at that news. Rigetti jumps 15% post DARPA quantum project win. Is it time to buy the stock? So this was an article put out by Zacks. When I look at Rigetti, my favorite part about Rigetti is that it's built on a scalable quantum system. If you listen to the CEO, or if you had a chance to talk to the CEO, it's clear from the interviews that he's done that his priority is to build a scalable, modular approach to quantum so people can, or customers or government or enterprise can purchase one piece of the quantum computer, just the processor, or the whole unit. And that does give Rigetti a very unique approach to the quantum space, and theoretically could make them more flexible and nimble as quantum as a theme continues to pick up steam. So if we go look at their press releases, we see that April 3rd, Rigetti Computing selected to participate in DARPA's Quantum Benchmark Initiative. All right, at number 3, moving up 2 on the list, we have IonQ. So both Rigetti and IonQ had weak earnings. The gains on the list are based on DARPA and the government investment and the fact that both of these companies are quantum pure plays. IonQ recently, if we look at the news for IonQ, celebrated their World Quantum Day with the new quantum advancements and customer collaboration. So this was from yesterday, and the company highlighted a year of quantum leadership, innovation, and growth, including expanded global presence and groundbreaking advancements. So let's take a look at a quote I highlighted here. As we observe World Quantum Day, we're excited about the growth of our quantum computing and networking business and the number of applications we're working on that showcase superior results when combining our quantum computers with classical high-performance computing. IonQ's notable achievements over the past year reflect continued progress, demonstrating breakthrough use cases showcasing quantum acceleration, expanding into quantum networking, growing an impressive patent portfolio, securing multiple quantum computing and networking contracts, accelerating quantum computing adoption, pioneering scalable quantum error correction. So IonQ is doing a lot. Their stock has been beat to a pulp, but they are starting to recover. In fact, if we look at quantum as a theme this week, even though we've had a lot of sell-off in the market, quantum has been holding pretty strong. People are not hitting the sell button as all these headlines keep their pace and the technology continues advancing. So if we go over to IonQ's site, quantum is now. Quantum computing has the potential to change the world, and IonQ is leading the way. So great direct marketing. I'm sure part of that is because a lot of these quantum companies are fighting the misconception that quantum is 10, 15, or 20 years away. That was famously said by Jensen in January. So at number 2, Google, with the announcement of Willow, and I'm giving Google a nod here because Google started this whole craze, really. Like, these companies were around, but when Google paved the way for this huge this epic quantum rally, I don't like to use the word that often because it's very overused, but it was an epic rally, and it brought the whole market attention like a magnifying glass to what is quantum, where is quantum now, what's happening. So we know that Google, among the many other things that they do really well, has built the Willow chip. Willow performed a standard benchmark computation in under 5 minutes that would take one of today's fastest supercomputers 10 septillion years, a number that vastly exceeds the age of the universe. So that's a long time. So if we look at quantum AI, which is, I was just exploring a little bit. They have a cool website here. Our mission is to build quantum computing for the otherwise unsolvable problems, introducing Willow, the next generation of quantum chips. And they have their roadmap that's laid out as well, just similar to IBM. They have video here talking about error correction, news and resources. So their most recent is now back in December with Willow, but I gather that Google is biding their time. And when they make an announcement, it's going to be big when they're ready to make that announcement. All right. In number 1, moving up 3 spots on the Quantum 8 to take the number 1 spot on the Quantum 8 is D-Wave. D-Wave has taken the path less traveled. They have put many, many years into researching and creating quantum annealing computers, where most of these companies on this list are pursuing gate-based. They have quantum annealing computers with companies like MasterCard that are current clients, and companies like Anduril and Boeing shopping quantum and what it can do for their most difficult and complicated problems. So what annealing computers do really well is they do optimization. So I put here in the rank notes, in addition to not only their approach being more widely adopted and their forward guidance accelerating at a quick pace, D-Wave also looks to be one of the first companies, actually the very first company, to release a quantum supremacy claim that didn't have a bunch of scientific pushback in the community. So their quantum supremacy claim from this month, actually, let's see, that it was late last month, they have claimed quantum supremacy on a practical problem. So since we just talked about Google Willow and we talked about their supremacy result, essentially the difference is that the supremacy was showcased on random numbers and not data that's super useful to us right now. But D-Wave Quantum in their paper in Science showed that they can achieve quantum supremacy on a problem that actually matters and is actually applicable today. So really crazy scientific leap there. And congratulations to D-Wave. Not only have they had this scientific breakthrough, but they're continuing to gain momentum and customers, and they're hiring like crazy. There's a lot of growth that is happening with D-Wave. Let's jump over to their website. Every time I go to their website, it gets better and better. So as you can see, front and center, they're the first to demonstrate quantum supremacy in a useful real-world problem. And they have their quantum launchpad, which is probably similar to Microsoft's Quantum Ready program. They have the quantum blockchain architecture. Oh, and by the way, D-Wave at their conference announced they're also working on a gate-based quantum computer as well. So D-Wave, as a pure play in the quantum computing space, is probably one of the most attractive, well, in my opinion, the most attractive quantum pure play out there today. We see that also Japan Tobacco and D-Wave announced a quantum proof of concept that outperforms classical for LLM training in drug discovery. And when I was at Qubits 2025, I actually got an opportunity to talk to a couple people from Japan Tobacco, exchange business cards, and I'm hoping to bring their scientists onto the show and have some conversations, ask some questions about this discovery, because using quantum annealing to discover new drugs could potentially change the medical world. It could have significant impacts. So D-Wave has been on an absolute tear. We know that D-Wave's best days are ahead. If you have enjoyed this content, and only if I've earned the like, please leave a like on this video. Every month or so, I revise this Quantum 8, so we'll see what happens next month. But head over to thequantumbull.com. If you haven't visited the site already, I put together kind of an all-in-one, one-stop shop for everything quantum computers, whether you're looking to just imagine the possibility, learn the basics if you're an investor, or if you want to stay up on some of the analyst and news pieces that we write, check it out at thequantumbull.com. All right, have a great weekend.